I'm Brandon Jinx Jenkins, Morehouse class of 2009, and I'm a multidisciplinary creative. You know, my why Morehouse when I first got here was different in some ways. Like I was like, I'm gonna be an engineer, you know? But over time, your why Morehouse changes because you change in your time here. You change in your time afterwards. And if I can think about why Morehouse when I first got here, it was that it was a place that made the promise that it would invest in you and make excellent men, you know? And when I think about why Morehouse while I was here, it was that it gave me a lot of options and that there was people here that actually cared about me. You know, I wasn't just showing up in class, 200 people in the room, buried in the back. I wouldn't have survived that, you know? It wouldn't have worked for me. I had people that actually, that opened the door for me, made sure I got through, and then instructed me to keep the door open behind me. And that's everything, man. Those are like my tenets, you know? That's like a thing I actually believe in, and I hope that I'm practicing actively. It's kind of hard to take Morehouse out the equation, you know? When I look back now, like Morehouse definitely changed my life. I can think about the moments when I was struggling. I can think about the moments when people helped me get back on my feet. I can think about Dr. Hudson. My peer group afterwards, I mean, we all still clicked up, half of us still like in the same neighborhood now, you know? Like, everything they tell you here is real. And all those whys were different whys, but that's what Morehouse has. There's 1,000 reasons why Morehouse, you know? So, just gotta pick one or 7, you know? You know, initially when I came to Morehouse, I was planning on being an engineering major. I came here as an engineering major. Everyone seemed really excited about it when I said it. I was really good at math and science in high school, and it felt like the natural path. And so that's really what led me here. I had some family members that were here as well. 2 cousins, well, they like family friends, but you know, and for us that's cousins. And it felt like the right place to be. I'd gone on a college tour here, and it felt so immediate. It felt so handheld. It just felt like I understood it, and there wasn't much gap between like, you know, there was no translation. There was nothing lost in translation. It's like this place, it makes sense. Dean Hudson at the time I recommended, he's like, you know, like, what do you do? Like, what are you into? And I was like, oh, I do Photoshop. And at the time he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, okay. Like I do graphic design, you know, I'm on the computer a lot. He's like, you know, like, what do you do in your spare time? I was telling him that. I was like, yeah, I'm really big on like, you know, blogging and, you know, what TV shows do you watch? I'm like naming all these shows. And I'm like, you know, when television commercials come on, I don't change the channel. I'm like into that. He was like, you should take the marketing department. So I was like, all right, you know, I thought marketing was like telemarketing. You know, I thought I was like gonna be calling, like making sales. And it wasn't that at all. And when I got in that department, it was, at the time, especially at Morehouse, there weren't even as many majors as there are today. Marketing was the place where I could be creative. It was the place where I could use strategy. It was the place that asked you to work really closely with your classmates and make them teammates. You know, it was all the things that I was already good at, but didn't even have vocabulary for. I didn't know what I was good at. But when I got there, I was able to practice it. I was able to acknowledge it, hone it in, and practice it, and then put words to it. And the reason I think that having vocabulary for it is really important, because if you can't put vocabulary to the things that you're doing, you can't inquire and get more information about them, and you can't advertise your ability. So going to marketing let me know, like, oh, he's really good in group formats. Or going to marketing let me know, hey, you know, he's really good at strategy, or he's good at copywriting or creating. And when I got in that department, my whole world opened up. You know, I had another professor named Dr. Hudson, Dr. Alani J. Hudson. You know, she passed away a few years ago, RIP. Dr. Hudson definitely changed my life. You know, she gave me confidence at a time that I really severely needed it, having 2 years here where things weren't necessarily going well. And she really took me under her arm and didn't just, like, you know, allow me to raise my hand in class. She propped me up. You know, when I was questioning things, she gave me more options, more things to choose. She gave me information and culture to study away from the classroom. And I found that it didn't feel like it did in the prior years. You know, it felt like, oh, there was no separation between class and the things I enjoyed. And everything just started to kind of come into focus. And additionally, Dr. Hudson is the first person that really gave me a foray into the adult, you know, world of professionalism. I was honored to be selected as a Nike Yard Runner in their class of 3.0. And, you know, it was like, at this point in time, Nike was deciding, hey, we want to do more with the Yard Runners program. You know, we don't want to just like make merchandise for some of our HBCU schools that we've already been celebrating the last 3 years. You know, we want to make custom sneakers. So my first year, I watched women from Clark, FAMU, North Carolina A&T, TSU make custom dunk lows, and they were phenomenal. I think it was a big hit. And then this year came around, they were like, hey, we're going to do the Nike Terminator. So I got a call from the Nike team, Arinze and Rich, and they were like, it was around this time last year. You know, it takes a long time to make these things possible. And Arinze and Rich called me, and I remember where I was at. I was like outside the barbershop, and it was the call you always wanted, you know? It's like being a journalist or, you know, a photographer, or DJ, or all these different creative arts, you sometimes wonder if someone will know that you're interested in all these things and you can do all these other things. And the people at Nike, that squad saw it. So they gave me a call and was like, hey, we're doing the Nike Terminator. We're celebrating Morehouse, you know. We're gonna send you a sort of a CAD sketch, but bring whatever creativity you have to the table and, you know, we'll figure it out. And immediately I went home. I went home, I got that CAD drawing and I started messing around on Photoshop, trying different colorways, you know, trying different paneling and just looking for inspiration. You know, I reached out to James Jeter, who worked on the Polo collection, asking him where he sort of like did some of the research for his Polo collection. And he showed me where to find some things. I looked at some of the Nike archives. You know, I looked at the Georgetown Hoya Terminators from like '85, I believe, and saw how they put Hoyas on the back. So I was like, okay, I know I wanted to customize this. And I tried to find this marriage between Morehouse, Nike, and then a little bit of my own story. And I knew that I didn't want the sneaker to be just mine. You know, I didn't need my name in it. I didn't need it to be something that only worked for me. And I thought a lot about the alumni that were here, and I thought a lot about the students. I'm in the alumni, but I ain't like with the elders, you know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of people that we stand on their shoulders, we come after them. And I knew that I wanted to make something that would work up and down that line. It needed to work for our oldest alumni and the kid who's just getting his early acceptance letter. You know, it needed to fit that mold. It needed to work for the men and women who have, you know, young sons that are like, hey, one day he's going to be at Morehouse and he might be in, you know, 8th grade right now, but we're going to get him a pair of these sneakers. I wanted to take the whole community into account because obviously when you come here to Morehouse, you know, you're an individual, but you learn a lot about the Morehouse mystique. You learn a lot about the people that have paved the way for you. And it wouldn't be right to make something that only worked for Jinx. You know, you had to make something that worked for the entire student body. And that was like my design. That was my design, like, compass, my guiding light, my North Star. I was like, okay, it needs to work for everybody. But then there were some like selfish flares in there. You know, I knew I wanted to honor my professor, Dr. Hudson, who had passed away. She loved Nike. She loved marketing and advertising. You know, she loved Morehouse. And so it felt right to put her words in there. There's in the left tongue, you'll see my acknowledgement to her. There's 2 lines. There's, you got this and stay excellent. Stay excellent is something she said every day in class. And it's something that you hear on Morehouse campus entirely. It's, you know, excellence, you know, perfection, be great. And it's not, you know, it's not to add pressure to your life, but it's to understand that there's a standard to live up to. That there is, you're not just carrying around your name, you know, you're carrying around your family's name, you're carrying around your fellow students, your alumni, the people that come after you, you know, pouring into that other jar while this jar is pouring into yours. You know, it's a mutual investment, you know. And stay excellent is something that she always said to me when we talked, you know, in class, you know, our friendship after school. And the other thing she said is, you got this. And I thought about Nike's Just Do It, you know, where just do it is like, just go ahead, do it, take the leap. You know, and it's for the confident. But you got this is for like the person who second guesses. You know, when you get to the edge of the diving board, you get to the edge of the cliff, when you're wondering, can I do this? You know, you heard just do it. You know, you lace your sneakers up, you put on your attire, you're ready to go. And then right when you stop, right before you go through that, you turn that handle, and you're taking that second, it's you got this that makes you actually turn that handle and go through the door. And I felt like you got this is our own version of just do it. And it was Dr. Hudson saying, so I knew I wanted to include that in the sneaker. On the other set of laces, I wanted to include our Dear Old Morehouse, which is, you know, it's our mantra, it's our school song. And it just reminds me of that embrace when you guys are locked, you know, in step with one another. And I'm not gonna do the school song right now, but it felt like a clever way to kind of like, when guys from Morehouse see it, they'll know, you know. And you want to obviously make a sneaker that can appeal to the world over. You want sneakerheads to like this, you know. You want people that went to Morehouse to like this, but I wanted to have those small nods of, you know, for people like us, you know, if you've been a Morehouse student at any point, you'll catch it and you'll know. And I think if you know, nod is always special, always. Yeah, I can be pretty ambitious at times, and I think sometimes impatient too. But I don't really know what's next. I got some things I'd like to do. You know, working on this Nike project, a lot of it was a big learning curve, and like being like someone who's been buying sneakers. You know, I used to work at like a sneaker store, and I've been into sneakers since I was a kid. Someone who's been into sneakers, you know, their entire life, getting a chance to make a sneaker is bucket list. And wanting to make a sneaker, getting to do it for Morehouse is even crazier. It's like, it just, that intersection of all those desires and hobbies and things that I care a lot about happening all at once is fun. You know, I'd love to design more product. You know, I'd love to play around in that space. It's completely different than journalism, but it still exercises similar creative muscles. It still requires inspiration. It still requires collaboration. It still requires a ton of learning and research and testing to see what works. And after going through this, you know, like any creative thing, you get addicted, you know, in a good way. You want to do better than the thing you just did. You know, even when we locked the design for these, I was like still in my mind tinkering. People at Nike were like, yo, we have to stop. We have to get these shoes to the factory. Like, we can't keep going. And that's fun. And the next time you're like, all right, how can I do more of that? But honestly, man, there's more that I want to do besides create product. I want to, I got some media aspirations as well, you know, with that being so big part of my background. Got some ownership ideas of things I want to do, but also I want to spend a lot more time in this too. A lot more time in the, I don't want to call it the education sphere, but like the community sphere, you know, like being here on campus today is, I've come to campus many times, but being here on campus today just feels different. You know, the students here, they're just so smart. They're smarter than it felt like I was when I was here. They know more, they're ambitious, and they're asking the right questions, but I know there's still all these things they don't know. And I'd love to find a way to bring more of my brothers back, especially my peer group who came out around the same time as me, and find a way to just to do more, to have a closer relationship with the campus, you know, that because it's given us so much.